Welcome back to the Triathlon Weekly News Roundup presented by thefeed.com. My name is Travis. Good to see all of you again. Sorry I missed last week. I always say that. But last week I was super sick, so glad to be feeling full of health again as I'm heading to T100 San Francisco this weekend, as well as the Ironman Pro Series race in Cairns in Australia. Can't wait to take all of you with me there and hope to meet some of you at those races. So really looking forward to that. But today we've got plenty to talk about. And I wanted to say again, thanks to the feed for sponsoring the show and keeping it going. So if you haven't been there before or you need to stock up on some fueling supplies, make sure you head to the link in my description and support the channel that way. That would be great. But yeah, lots of races from this last weekend to talk about, as well as the big upcoming races this week, as well as the news headlines, the Olympic selections coming up, and of course I've got a hot question for you in a video of the week. So let's dive into it. But before we do, I want to tell you a little bit more about the website, because we've been making some big changes on there. I think officially now this website has everything you need to follow pro triathlon. I think we made it a lot more user friendly. You can navigate a little bit easier, find everything in the right categories. We've added the latest results now, which automatically update. We've added who's qualified for the Ironman World Championships, the Olympics, and 70.3 World Champs, so you always know who's gonna be racing those events, as well as we've got all the rankings on there, including a year-to-date earnings table, which I've heard a lot of good feedback about. People are always super curious about the prize money. And then also our daily try rankings, which we made originally to help you out with the fantasy picks, but I think it's gonna get some good traction. We like how we made it a 78-week period instead of a 52-week period like the PTO rankings. We also count for 6 races. So I think it's a little bit more accurate than just 3 races. And all the information for how we made those rankings is on the website. So let me know what you think about that. And if there's anything else we've forgotten on the website, anything else you'd like to see, of course, we'd love to add more things. Let us know if you like the live feature we had on there. But yeah, can't wait to keep using it. I hope to put more articles up on there. And yeah, just make it the hub for everything pro triathlon. So moving on then, this weekend's races, we got to start with Ironman Hamburg. If you didn't watch my recap video, please do check that one out. I couldn't watch it, obviously it was in European time, unfortunately, but making that video and watching pretty much the whole thing back, I was just amazed. 5 women getting off the bike within 2 minutes of each other, and then just some crazy running from the likes of Jackie Herring, who ran at 2:52. First time doing an Ironman in 9 years, and she just pulls off that brilliant result and picks up 5,000 Pro Series points, which I asked you guys on the website, can she win the Pro Series? And not many of you think she can, only 9% there when I last checked. I actually think she can. She just proved with a brilliant result in Chattanooga, as well as this result. And she's second place in the series right now. I think Vanella's one of her biggest competitors, and I think Kat was gonna be the other biggest competitor to win the series, but with this DNF that she got here, this disqualification, I should say, I think this gives Jackie a really good chance, and clearly she's in fine form. The 5th fastest Ironman distance time by a female ever. Truly mind-blowing from her. I just loved seeing her trying to get on that podium. It looked like a real struggle. She did say she was in a lot of pain during that marathon. And yeah, now she's got the experience. I think she's, my guess, probably race Lake Placid and then the Nice World Championships. And yeah, I think she gained a lot of fans from that race. And I'm even more of a Jackie Herring fan now myself. But yeah, Kat's disqualification, man, she just hasn't had the luck at all this year. If she wants to compete for this Pro Series, it's getting a little bit harder. She'll have to try and sneak in another Ironman. She's also got another 70.3 Pro Series race to do, as well as the Nice World Championships, all these T100 races. So curious to hear what she's going to do next. Pretty costly trip for her. She was in a great position, even though she had that malfunction with her water bottle mount on the bike. It just, yeah, not her luck. And also no luck for Els Visser, who got smashed into on the bike, which I don't think I've seen. Let me know if you've seen that before in a non-draft triathlon race. Unbelievable that she managed to stay on the bike, and then she got a puncture right afterwards. A lot of people saying there was some outside assistance here with that person holding the bike. I don't think it's that big of a deal. She probably didn't even ask them to. They probably just held the bike there. Clearly, she didn't have the right CO2 adapter, couldn't get it fixed on her own, and ended up losing about 9 to 11 minutes there. And yeah, I think she was in for a real shot at the win there. But she just keeps getting better and better, and still a great result for her. I think she came in 6th place. We also had Ironman 70.3 Switzerland, which was a pretty small race, but it ended up having some pretty good headlines with Julie Darren, a short course triathlete who's raced quite a bit of long distance before. She ran the second fastest half marathon run we've ever seen at a 70.3 with a 1:13:22. And then Leo Arnold on the men's side, he took the win there by a 1:08 half marathon, which is pretty rapid. Apparently pretty tough run course too, like nothing easy. Julie was 8 minutes faster than the second fastest run split there. Her sister was also racing and took fourth place. But yeah, Leonard Arnold, he is a German athlete who you might remember from last year where he got second at Ironman Switzerland racing on his girlfriend's bike after his bike broke. So he's looking like one for the future. And yeah, I was told that he was already right after the morning of the race, he was back in the pool, back with his training group and trying to work on that weakness of his. So keep an eye out for Leonard Arnold. He'll be racing in Kona later this year. Yuri raced this race as well. Yuri Kulin, he finished only in 14th there. He said it was going okay-ish until some body cramping and not being able to take in nutrition on the run. And that made him realize that his body is taking a real toll from that Singapore race. He said he's learning from this. He is inexperienced and he's going to take a break now for a week before building back up into the second half of the season. And as the T100 series leader currently, which will go away after this weekend in San Francisco, he's going to have to fight back for that series when he comes back. So we also had a few more races this weekend with a Great Britain showdown for the Olympic selection coming up between Sam Dickinson, Johnny Brownlee, and Hugo Milner, the three guys in the front running to get that second spot for Great Britain. They raced a super sprint race over in Europe, and Sam Dickinson put in a massive kick to outsprint Johnny Brownlee for the win. Johnny ended up finishing in third. Hugo Milner, he's got a rapid run, but over the swim and the bike, he just lost touch to those guys. And you'd have to imagine they're going to pick Sam Dickinson over Johnny Brownlee with that result. It showcases, I think, a little bit that he can do it for the mixed relay for Great Britain, but it's Johnny Brownlee. He's got a gold, silver, and bronze medal at the Olympics. And even they still might pick Hugo Milner because he has potential to win a medal in the individual race with his amazing run speed. So yeah, I wouldn't want to be the selectors for Great Britain, but we're going to get into that later on because we had one other race where Javier Gomez raced a local Spanish race. He took the win there with a 3:41 overall time. Hard to tell how good that was without as strong a competition, but good rust buster for him leading into San Francisco. And he's, by all accounts, he's in really good form. So I'm hoping he can show that with us in San Francisco. Again, we're going to get into that in just a little bit. Moving on, we had 3 challenge races, pretty small ones: Gunson, Salou, and Gallipoli. Challenge Salou produced another classic challenge sprint finish for the win between Kurt McDonald as well as another Spanish athlete that I'll butcher his pronunciation, but it was so close, and Kurt just lost out there on the win. Absolutely unbelievable, and that sounds like the worst thing ever to do a sprint finish at the end of one of these races. But we've got some big races coming up with the Ironman Pro Series in Boulder this weekend. It's actually a really good start list. Some hidden names on both the men's and the women's side. It's pretty much going to be a locals boulder championship on the men's side with lots of guys like Sam Appleton. Trevor Foley now lives there. Chris Leiferman, Matt Hansen lives just south of there. So yeah, Justin Metzler. It's just tons of guys from that area, all going to be competing for those Pro Series points at altitude. Thomas Rodriguez is going to be racing there, coming off of his Ironman Texas Ring. Can he show that he really is a front runner to win this Pro Series? That'll be a good one to watch out for. But also hidden at the bottom of that start list there is John Reed and Chase McQueen, 2 short course athletes. Chase has some experience. He's the E-Tri World Champ, and I think he could change up that race. So yeah, looking forward to seeing how he does there. On the women's side, Ellie Salthouse, the clear favorite for this one. She must have picked this, my guess is, over a wildcard spot in San Francisco. You'd have to imagine she was offered it there, as she was offered one for Singapore. And so she's going to be looking to make that pay dividends and take a big win here. But she's up against Sif Bandix Madsen, who's a good swim biker. And then Jodie Stimpson as well, another excellent all-rounder. And we know her pedigree. And then Leslie Smith, and hidden on the bottom there, as well as Valerie Barthélemy and Erica Ackerland, another short course athlete, very similar to Chase McQueen. jumping up and doing the long distance. So you get to see how she goes. But then there's also 70.3 Warsaw happening, which is another smaller race like Switzerland. But Gustav Iden is on that start list. So he's continuing his comeback tour after not being able to finish in Mallorca. He's not against too many strong athletes. Mickey Tagholt will be there. A couple other good guys hidden on that list. But I think it'll be a perfect low-key race for him to get back into the swing of things there in Poland. And then also Challenge Wales has a small start list. But really all the focus this weekend is on T100 San Francisco. I don't think I've seen a race with this high strength of field score ever before. I mean, I went and checked the PTO European Open, the Asian Open, and the US Open last year, and they don't come close to these numbers. And those numbers are going to be even higher because as I'm editing this, Kat Matthews just announced she is en route to San Francisco, and she will be racing, filling in for Sky Mancha's position. How crazy is that? And you can just see by looking at the names on there, it's just going to be so good. I'm obviously spending a little bit of money to go there just to spectate this race and get you guys some footage, but I think I felt it. This is the one I should definitely go to. It feels like the most epic. I've always heard about Alcatraz and wanted to race that myself. I've seen what the course looks like. It looks really dramatic and it looks like anything can happen. Also a back-to-back race where the women start right after the men, about 45 minutes afterwards, which will be so interesting to see how that unfolds, not only on the broadcast and how they do that, but also just on the bike and the run and what that looks like. And if the men and the women kind of get in the way of each other, not sure how they'll divide that up. Finally, a cooler race that I think could completely change how the race dynamics unfold. Kyle Smith even said he was pushing about 50 less watts in Singapore. So, you know, there's gonna be a lot of extra watts in this cooler weather. And I think jumping off into that ice cold water off of the ferry is gonna shock some athletes, and then hopping onto the bike after that. Plus it's a super, super hilly course. So that's gonna change things up again. And I mean, just on the women's side, Anne Haug, Ashley Gentle, and Taylor Knibb finally, for the first time, going head-to-head in a race. These have been the three titans of the middle distance, and it's just so hard to pick who's going to pull it off. You'd have to lean Taylor for this one, but you just never know with her chasing the Olympics this year. She showed us great form at Oceanside, but yeah, she's doing a lot right now, and I think Anne and Ashley are the ones to beat her. Thank goodness the PTO is putting on these races so we can see those three go head to head. But India Lee is also there. She's there to challenge, as we've seen after winning the Challenge Championships and T100 Miami. Obviously had to pull out of T100 Singapore, so she's going to be wanting a good result here. And then on the men's side, well, we've got Alistair Brownlee back to race. He's obviously scared us a little bit with his ankle there in Singapore, but he sounds by all accords good to go, ready to run. And yeah, I think just the wild cards on this start list, as well as a hotshot Martin Van Riel joining us, it is just going to be anyone's game here. But one of my biggest predictions, which I'm going to tease for my video coming out tomorrow or Wednesday, is that I think this might be Sam Long's hardest race to win. With such a tough swim that's going to change up the dynamics with the currents, the lack of buoys. There's just going to be a lot more firepower on the bike with it not being a hot race, and you won't have that advantage. But there you go. I'll leave you with that. Let me know what you think below, and then we can argue it some more in the preview video. But whatever you do, make sure you head to the website to make your T100 fantasy picks. It is live now. There is a chance to win an annual co-pilot subscription to the app I've always told you about, FUELIN. This is the top tier subscription where you get unlimited messages to the nutrition coach of your choice as the app guides you along with your training and racing nutrition. You'll get all the support you need there. It's the same app that Jan Frodeno used in his lead up to the PTO US Open race last year with his coach. Scott Tyndall was one of the co-founders of the app. So yeah, this is a huge prize, and I just hope you hop on there and make your picks and you enjoy it as much as I do. But let's move on to the news, because I haven't spoken to you since all of Lionel's vlogs have come out about him saving 30 watts in the wind tunnel heading there to Germany. I can't believe how much watts he saved just by shaving his arms and his legs. 10 watts, they said. That is unbelievable. A myth he thought was completely off with that. And yeah, it was funny hearing Pro Tri News talk about that and telling Alistair Brownlee he needs to do the same thing. But also hearing on that Pro Tri News podcast, Mark Matthews saying that he was stitched up, that Aaron was coaching him, when in fact it does seem to be Jan Frodeno doing some coaching of Lionel Sanders, or at least helping out a little bit. He was at the very end of one of those vlogs, so I don't think I was too far off a few weeks ago when I was hoping that Jan was coaching Lionel.
And that's how I found out quite a while ago, but what everyone else has just found out, that Jan Frodeno is coaching Lionel Sanders.
Really looking forward to hearing what they say about that. And yeah, if Lionel is in fact getting some help from Jan, that would be so cool. But also, I didn't get to catch up with you that Magnus Ditlev is still doing some wind tunnel testing. I think somebody needs to ban him from going there to the wind tunnel to get any faster. He's already fast enough on the bike. But what was really cool about his post about it is that he said they developed something that hasn't been done in the bike industry before, that allowed them to reproduce some of the dynamic wind and turbulence that allows them to optimize for a wide range of outdoor wind conditions, since triathlon races are not held in a wind tunnel. Yeah, obviously Magnus showcasing his engineering background and yeah, just his intelligence all around as he prepares for Kona. He says this was specifically for Kona, but man, I just wish I was a fly on the wall and could watch them in action and making Magnus' setup as slippery as possible. I think he is just such an innovator, and yeah, it's good to see him always being one step ahead of the game. But moving on from there, because I think the big news this week is the Olympic selections are coming out. So far, not too many surprises for athletes being chosen for their country, mostly based off of rankings. One of them was Mark DeVey, being left out for the Hungary team. He is one of the fastest swimmers, if not the fastest swimmer, in short course triathlon. So that'll change up the Olympic race a little bit. He won't be leading out the swim there, but there are the big ones coming out this week and also next Monday. It's the French team, the British team, as well as the American team. The French team, they'll be deciding between the likes of Vincent Louis, Leo Berger, and Dorian Connix. Well, they leave Vincent Louis off. He is like their home country triathlon hero. Leo Berger is the 2022 world champion. Dorian Connix is the 2023 world champion. That is going to be a tough selection that I wouldn't want to be a part of. Then Johnny Brownlee for the British team. Is he going to get selected? Also another icon of that sport there in Great Britain. And Georgia Taylor Brown, Kate Woff as well. Sophie Caldwell will be battling for that spot on the women's side. Both of those selections supposed to come out on Monday. And then we heard from a comment in Gwen Jorgensen's Instagram that she says she'll know on Wednesday what the selections are for the US team. I've also heard that we'll probably know definitely by Monday as well. Yeah, but the big selection there is Katie Zafiris or Gwen Jorgensen or Kirsten Casper. Taylor Spivey, we really think has locked up that second spot. But yeah, it's going to be so close between Katie, Gwen, and Kirsten for that third spot. But that leads me to my hot question of the week, which was my other poll on the website, by the way. I said, should it be selections or rankings based? And it looks like most of you believe it should be off of rankings and there shouldn't be any selections, but it was really close. And I think that's because there's definite argument to either side. With rankings, it leads to less politics, but also if it's just rankings, it might not represent what could play out in the race to get a medal, which is what it's all about there at the Olympics. So yeah, I think it's the catch-22 there. You have to pick less politics or potentially the best opportunity for the country to medal. Let me know what you think about that down below. But then we also had the news that Wildflower, the infamous triathlon race that went away in 2019, is coming back. I've always heard about this race. Would have loved to have taken part or go there and spectate. Often known as the Woodstock of triathlon. I've heard so many stories about with Heather Jackson as well as Jesse Thomas. And yeah, camping with triathlon, it just sounds like two of my favorite things. Well, it is coming back in 2025. The race was canceled because it suffered through some droughts, low water levels, and it was also sold to Motive that was supposed to make it bigger, but then the person who they sold it to and said they were going to make it bigger left. Anyways, whole story, as well as COVID. But now it's back. That was always the plan, to bring it back. And they're hoping that they can work it out long term to evolve it so the water isn't as much of an issue. But at least it's going to be a one-time thing there in 2025. I hope they can have a pro race, and yeah, they hope they can make it how it was. And I think I'll be looking at a trip down there to Central California next year. One more thing. World Athletics announced a new global championship that will conclude in 2026 with a $10 million prize pot, which is the highest in history. But I thought that I would bring this up because it sounds very similar to the PTO and triathlon with all the money invested in that. And I think they'll have a lot of the same challenges, even though they upped the prize money. Can they get people watching and interested in the races? But yeah, big news there coming out of the running world. And finally, the video of the week this week, I'm going to leave you with, cheer up, this face that this girl made after getting a high five from one of the pro triathletes during the run. He said he was really suffering during this run, but yeah, this girl's face showed what that could mean to somebody younger. And to be honest, it's probably going to be my face if I get a high five from one of the pros this weekend in San Francisco. But yeah, I love that video. Thought I'd share it with you. And yeah, just want to say thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you to The Feed, as always, for sponsoring this show, and FUELIN as well. And if you want to support me, please do support those brands down below in the description. FUELIN is also offering 20% off during this week, during this time of T100 San Francisco. So it's the best time to hop on one of their plans. And if you want to support the channel further, please do check out the channel membership, which will get you some more perks as I get them set up, but definitely get you access to videos sooner. Thanks so much. We'll see you guys in the next one. Have a good one.